Hi there, Miss Lorraine Appleyard here, and thank you very much for joining me today. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how long does it take for spirit to come through in a mediumship reading. This is something that comes up a lot, both from students that are developing their mediumship and from sitters that are looking to have a mediumship reading to connect with their loved one. So let's talk about what is it, how long is it takes for spirit to be able to come through in a reading. Now, this is something that can have different advice, different opinions, depending on who you talk to. But I'm going to give you the lowdown on this. Okay. Now, the truth is that it doesn't take any period of time for spirit to have to wait in order to come through. There are circumstances when sometimes a person will pass and immediately their spirit will make their presence be known to someone else here on the earth plane. Very often these circumstances come when there is a sudden passing and the spirit person simply wants to let their loved one know that they have arrived safely to the other side. This is sort of think of it along the lines of a call when you've arrived, to let your family know that you've arrived safely, just like we do here on the physical plane. This is the same way that spirit sometimes will present themselves to their loved ones if they've passed suddenly. It's just sort of like a call from the other side, letting them know that, hey, I've passed, I've gotten here safely, I'm okay. And then that spirit person may not actually come through in a reading or in any kind of other visitations for a very long while. But think of that as an arrival sort of phone call. The truth is that I have had instances where I have had spirit come through and the physical body of the person has not actually completely expired, or they're in the transitioning process. And so I believe that when we are transitioning from the physical plane to the spirit world, that our soul does indeed travel, and that may come through in a medium or be able to make the presence be known to someone that's sensitive here in the physical world. You will hear some other teachers saying that's not possible, but I believe from my own experiences that is possible, and I've encountered many other mediums, many other sensitives that have had that have the same experience. So yes, someone can come through when their body is actually physically transitioning, or when their soul is transitioning from this physical plane. It can also happen when someone is in a coma for a period of time. Their soul journeys, just the same way that we do when we're sleeping. Their soul journeys in the astral plane and can come visit those here in the physical. I've found this also to be true for individuals that may be experiencing like a dementia or an Alzheimer's, and they are tending to live more in altered worlds, altered experiences than they are here in the physical plane. Just to be able to make you aware that these things can and do sometimes happen, but they're not really that common. They're kind of the exception to the rule, but I will say I do believe that they can happen, that we have spirit traveling to us from those that are not quite transitioned yet. So the golden rule of thumb for doing a mediumship reading is to wait at least 6 months of time before having a reading, waiting 6 months for that person that has passed to hope to be able to connect with them. And so I used to always really try to implement that rule. But then when I found out, I was initially in my development, was under the impression that there was a certain amount of learning to be done from spirit. That's why there was this 6-month rule. But in actuality, we try not to give readings too early, and it's for the well-being of the sitter. It doesn't have anything to do with spirit. It's for the well-being of the sitter to be able to grieve, to be able to process, and we do not want to cause any harm or interrupt that grieving process by doing a mediumship reading. Very often times people, when they've suffered a loss, they may want to go out immediately and seek a medium to be able to ask questions, to be able to check in on their loved one. And this really is not something that we want to encourage. So understand why the guidelines are there. Okay, it's really for the benefit of the sitter. Now, it's again, a spirit person can come through immediately after they've passed, but more often than not, there's a period of time that lapses, and it is generally understood that when we pass, when we're spirit incarnated, and when we are become spirit discarnated, that there's a period of healing that is encountered, and as such they may not be wanting or needing to come through. They are also experiencing a transition from the physical world into the spiritual world, and so there's healing that needs to be done, and they've got their own learning, and there is a certain amount of learning that spirit needs to do in order to be able to come through a medium. That is a school of thought that some spirit people, there are going to be always some exceptions to the rule. Some people that maybe live very advanced spiritual lives here on the physical plane, those that have worked with their soul, with their intuitive self, with their mediumistic natures, and they've really grown their soul. They have that strong astral body to be able to travel through the astral planes, and speaking through a medium may be very easy. And you can see this even as a medium when a soul comes through multiple times through mediums. If someone's working in development and they have their spirit people that come through, you can tell very often by how good of a communicator that they are. That, hey, they've come through a medium before. I can tell by the way they're coming through, by how good of a communicator that they are, that they have worked with mediumship before. So there is a certain amount of learning that occurs. Just to be able to keep that in mind. And also, too, when people are looking for a mediumship reading, we must remember that our loved ones, they're on the other side, that they are doing their own work, their own healing. They're occupied. They're not always waiting for our beck and call. So there are reasons sometimes too why spirit may not come through in a reading. But understanding most importantly that there is not a certain length of time that needs to occur before spirit can come through in a reading. Spirit has that ability at all times. There may be times that they can come through better, or again, there are times that they may come through to let you know that they have arrived safely, and then they may not feel that need to come through for a very long while because they are working on their own spiritual journey. It's just on the other side. So when we understand this, we can understand why we may not want to have a sitter come too soon for a mediumship reading, and it's for their own well-being, it's for their healing. It really doesn't have anything to do with spirit's ability to come through, because spirit does always have that ability to come through. But we keep that period of time for grieving, for adjustments, for that transitioning period. Think of it as a time of respect, a time of acknowledgement, And then when your sitter has gone through a bit of a grieving process, when the recipient is intended recipient has gone through a bit of a grieving process, then they can come to seek having a mediumship reading. Again, there's always some exceptions to the rule. Someone that is maybe already very well on their mediumship journey, on their spiritual journey, they may not feel the need to wait that period of time, or perhaps it has been a long, sort of drawn out process. And there's been ongoing sort of grieving and in preparation for this, the passing. And so, again, there's always some exceptions to the rule, but understanding why we have these sort of guidelines and what they're all about. But spirit can come through anytime. There's no period of time that they have to wait before they can connect with you. And if you are someone that is seeking to make contact with their loved ones in spirit, you can do this too, just by allowing yourself to invite your loved ones in, by sitting quietly, by allowing yourself to be open in your heart and in your mind, and just asking Spirit, come give me a sign. Come let me feel you. Come connect with me. Let me feel you. Give me a sign. And as you do that, be aware of any subtle shifts, any feelings that you get, any impressions, anything that comes to mind. Because remember that Spirit speaks very subtly through our feelings, through imagery, through symbology. I thank you very much for listening, and this once again is Lorraine Appleyard, and talking about how long does it take for spirit to be able to come through in a mediumship. Please, if you found this helpful, drop a comment. Let me know what things that you're working with on your mediumship journey so that I can help speak to that. I thank you very much, and I wish you all very many blessings, and may you walk with Spirit. Bye for now.